Donald Trump and Virgin Group founder Sir Richard Branson have a lot in common. They are unconventional, unfiltered, and filthy rich. But the billionaire entrepreneur now says one meeting he had with Mr. Trump convinced him that despite his business acumen, he is not the right man to run this country. Sir Richard Branson, thank you for joining me today. I want you to talk to us about how you met Donald Trump. I read about a very interesting one-on-one lunch that you and he had, where he spent most of his time talking about 5 individuals who didn't help him when he was going through bankruptcy and how he had a vendetta out against them.
Yes, it was strange because, first of all, it was the first time we'd ever met. He invited me to lunch at his flat in New York. And we sat down for lunch. It was just the two of us. And for almost the whole lunch, he talked about his bankruptcies. He talked about his latest bankruptcy. He talked about how he had rung another number of people to get help. And that 5 people that he rang had said that they wouldn't help him, and how it was going to be his life's mission to destroy those 5 people. And that was pretty well the gist of the lunch. And I remember leaving thinking, you know, this man is a very vindictive man. He's rather a dangerous man, and rather a sad man. Was there a chance he was just trying to, you know, show bravado or machismo to you? Or you thought he was serious? I was absolutely and utterly convinced he was serious. In fact, you know, I mean, I used to have a feature film company, and I was actually thinking maybe I'll make a feature film about this sort of somewhat megalomaniac individual who goes out to destroy 5 people and how he sets about destroying them. I mean, he was deadly serious. I mean, it was and it was completely bizarre because I just could not work out why he'd spend a whole lunch, you know, when he could have been talking to me about, you know, interesting things in the world and, you know, entrepreneurship and, you know, how the world could be made better and, you know, or whatever. You know, I mean, why he spent the lunch telling me this? I mean, I almost thought that maybe he was going to ask me for help, and when I said no, I'd be the 6th person, but he didn't actually go that far. But it was one of the most extraordinary, bizarre lunches I'd ever had. Do you consider him to be a successful businessman? We've heard from the likes of Mike Bloomberg and Barry Diller. They've said he's a fraud, he's a hoax. You know, he was given a silver spoon in his mouth, and he effectively lost that spoon on 3 or 4 occasions through bankruptcies, and you know, he's still in business, but he's certainly not, you know, he's certainly not a massively successful business person. I mean, he's managed to, you know, to keep going, you know, using the Trump brand, but one bankruptcy can be forgiven, you know, 2, you know, very questionable, 3, you know, and so on. So you know, most successful business people do not, you know, do not go through that kind of career. There are some words that are used to describe him, like unfiltered, authentic, over the top, unconventional. These are the same types of words that people lovingly use to describe you. So does any part of you look and say, maybe I should be his guy? Look, I would love to see an entrepreneur in the White House one day running the world, but certainly not this entrepreneur. I mean, you know, I've had the privilege of also having a one-on-one lunch with Hillary Clinton, and you know, during that lunch, we talked about global warming. We talked about the death penalty. We talked about gun control. We talked about women's rights. We talked about Iraq and Iran, and you know, and she was a great listener. She asked questions. I asked questions. You know, she was interested, and it was a fascinating lunch. And you know, as somebody who lives in this world, I would feel very uncomfortable. I mean, very, very uncomfortable with somebody like Donald Trump being in the White House. Whereas, I mean, I know, you know, a lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton, but she is, I think, a very able. She's had, you know, so many years of experience, and she would be a very safe pair of hands in the White House.
Then what do you say to those who are so sick of Washington politics and gridlock, who look at Hillary as a career politician, and they say, well, I want a deal maker. You know, success in business should translate to success in government. What do you say to them?
It's a fair comment, but this is the wrong deal maker. You know, this is somebody that, you know, in his dealings, a lot of people have been hurt. You know, the businesses that he's run have gone bankrupt. You know, he's not a safe pair of hands to be running running the most important country, arguably, in the world. And I think it would be truly frightening. It's just not a risk that I would like to see the people of the United States of America taking.
Well, you're not American, so you won't be voting in this election. You're a global citizen, and you understand the consumer, and you understand trade. Donald Trump has made it clear he looks at the trade deficit, and he does not want to see all of these goods being imported from China. But given how well you know the consumer, what is most important? Because consumers, they seem to want to buy really inexpensive goods, like they want inexpensive airline tickets.
Yeah, look, you can't put up walls around countries. If you do, you're going to find that the cost of your goods are going to go up dramatically. People will be paying much more for the goods than they are today. You know, if you don't import oil, the price of oil, you know, could double in America. You know, so you know, it's unrealistic to try to create massive walls and stop people being able to trade with each other.
And why do you think the stock market would crash, the dollar would collapse if Donald were elected? I mean, the United States will still be the cleanest of the dirty shirts.
Look, I think if you look at all the economic pundits and what they're forecasting, they are forecasting that if Donald Trump was to be elected, that there would be a rout on the stock market and a rout on the dollar. People want a leader of the United States of America who they can trust, who's got stable hands, who's not unpredictable. You know, that's what you want when you're running your family, what you want when you're running your business, and when you're what you want when somebody's running the country.
And before we go, when this interview airs, when we put it out there, Donald Trump will no doubt come after you. He will send a negative tweet. He will say, I had a reality show that was stronger than Richard Branson's reality show. I have more beautiful hotels. I am the Donald Trump. Why put yourself out there when you know Donald will come after you?
Because I think it's incredibly important that people who know Donald Trump and know the real Donald Trump speak out about him. I think a lot of his supporters have an image of Donald Trump which is, rather a false image, and so I think it's up to anyone who knows Donald Trump to get out and speak out about it. And I know what a vindictive person he is. If he gets into the White House, I'm definitely for the chops. But anyway, I've got an island. I'll go and hide away on that, and hope he can't find it.
Pretty good island to hide out in. Richard, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.